went live already, but it should have just automatically did it. But
Yeah.
anyways, yeah.
Yep.
So we are actually live right now. If people have any questions, I'm gonna take them, and if the other two decide to join us, or the other three decide to join us, I'll add them in here. But yeah, dude, like I'm actually happy that you guys are all here. There's 5 of us. We all have one thing in common. Before me it was Jason. Jason was Henry Fuji, Jason Yang. Those gimmicks in pro wrestling. You guys are now on the scene. I know, Joe, you stopped training, but possibly thinking about coming back. And me, I retired, or I quit wrestling like 2-3 years ago, but I still like to get involved. So, but yeah, dude, like I'm excited you guys all here, dude.
Thanks for having us, man. Thanks for
thank you, man, for having us.
Too,
yeah, so it looks like Albert just messaged the group. He just got back from work 5 minutes ago, so I'll just tell him he can still join.
Yeah.
But this is a podcast live, whatever. There's really necessarily no rules to podcasting. Like if you're gonna do video, or if you're gonna do live, I said this is just us together. But yeah, let's introduce her. Well, yes, I've introduced myself to you guys. Andrew Lee from Michigan, trained at the House of Truth back in. Actually, I don't remember the year anymore. I think it was like 8 to 9 years ago. That to me doesn't seem so long. Like when I got trained, it doesn't seem that long ago. And now, like every time Facebook reminds me that I trained this many years ago, I'm like, dude, like
it's almost a decade, huh?
Yeah, that's almost 8 years ago. I should already be like, I mean, not great, but like
should be a champion, really.
Progressing, progressing.
I'll tell you guys about that story soon. About I've never won a championship, but then I'll get into that later. But yeah, I trained at the House of Truth. I didn't travel much, but I work a lot in Michigan. I did a show in Ohio. I wrestled once in I think IWA Mid-South in Kentucky, like one time, Ian Rotten's show. And then I wrestled one, and the other state that I wrestled in was in Wisconsin for Brew City Wrestling, which I can get into that story later. But so I actually, whichever one of you guys want to go first, introduce yourself. Actually, I think, Jason, since you're the vet of this group, you go first.
The old guy.
Yeah, you're the old guy. You go first.
I don't say that.
I started back in 2000, so I stayed active for about 7 or 8 years after I first trained it. Believe me, I quit so many times when I first started. I must have quit like 5-6 times when I was just training, but like I would convince myself to go back. And I did retire eventually for injuries. I had neck injuries and back injuries. I stopped for a while, then I went back like a year later, and then I stopped again. Then I got married and have kids now, and I believe me though, even though I've been out of the business, like it's still there. I still listen. It always shows up on my news feed and Facebook or social media, YouTube. I can't stay away from it. It's always there trying to pull me back in somehow. Then you guys come
get you involved.
Of course, yeah.
So Steve, what will you go? You go next. Emperor Steve.
Yeah, Emperor Steve.
So I started training in 2018. Like I was talking about, like join wrestling. I looked it up back in 2010 when I was still in Georgia. I couldn't find any school because every time I look it up, it would just say like professional school wrestling, but it would be like wrestling for school, stuff like that, right? So I couldn't find one. So I just let it go for years. Move up to Minnesota, and then one day my brother were talking. And I was like, man, I really love wrestling. I do want to get back into it. So I found the academy. Actually, at first it was a shocker, but I found the academy. I was going through it, and then I saw Ken Anderson, Molly and them and stuff, and I was like, oh, okay, cool,
Oh, man,
I know these people. I know these wrestlers, like I watched them in WWE. So I was like, cool. So I was like, you know what? It'll be an honor to train under, a professional ones and learn some things. So, that's when I went, and then I signed up in, February of 2018. Trained for almost about 2 years now. Yeah, so far, yeah. And then there's a funny story with how I met Yang Ling too. We'll go on with that.
Yeah, it was the Burger T seminar. That was
Yeah.
yeah, that was pretty fun. But yeah, my name is Jing Mo, and I've trained at the academy with Steve and Albert too. So my initial plan was to do school first and then wrestling, but then stuff always happens. So I always had to put school aside, and then I thought to myself, I'm only getting older as the years go by, so I know I might as well take a chance at something I love, So I started searching up schools, and then I found the academy, which was like 10 minutes away from me, and that was like a huge shocker too. It's like Steve, and then yeah, so that's where it started.
What about you, Joe? Going to about you, man.
Yeah, so I'm Joe, and so like around the beginning of 2016, I had nothing going for me. Like I didn't know what I wanted to do or anything like that, and I just decided that like wrestling was like the only constant in my life for like as long as I remember. So I decided that okay, the year 2016, I'm gonna join wrestling. So I exercised and lost like 100 pounds and shit, and like.
Oh,
Can I swear?
That's good.
Shit.
Yeah, that's fine.
Can I swear?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, okay, my bad.
I mean, try not to swear too much,
So-
but like I mean,
so by-
you're fine.
Yeah, I got you. So by like July of 2016 or something, I saw that Ken Anderson and Davari was starting their school. So I was just like, fuck, this is like almost too perfect, right? Like I'm living in Minnesota, and like they open it in Minneapolis, and it was the time when I wanted to join wrestling. So I joined. I was part of the first class with Cannon and Davari, and I was in there for like 6 months. I'm pretty sure if I just continue on, I would have had my first match within the next like extra 2 months or something. But for me personally, I got out because I'm not a very well. I got out because I'm very awkward and like I'm just not super sociable. I feel like you have to be really sociable to be to thrive in wrestling. But I feel like right now I'm a lot more ready for that, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, with that, like I'm awkward. I mean, I don't talk, which is why I like to podcast, so I can learn to
Kind of exercise
talk better.
that a little bit.
Yeah. So like, I mean, I most people don't get wrestling until much later on in their life. Like, Jason, you might know him. You know Gutter, Caleb Stills.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's one of those guys who he's one of those guys who said like, dude, like he's been wrestling for so many years, and he, I think it was like in 10 years, he still wasn't great. Like he was probably one of the worst guys out there. And then eventually it clicks in. Most guys don't get it until like a decade later. So, I mean, that might just be for like the case for you, like Joe, or even for me. Like I didn't really get it until I quit, like,
Yeah.
like the year I came back, because, I left wrestling, because, I got married, my first wife, I got married, I left wrestling, and I was coming back a little bit slowly, because I was only gone for like maybe a few months or like a half a year. And then I came back, I did one match back. Let me let Albert in here. Okay. So as I was saying, so I did one match against my friend Gideon Malice, and then I started doing shows regularly again, like maybe for a few weeks, and then a promoter messaged me about like they're gonna try to they're gonna put I'm gonna be the first cruiserweight champion of the show. So I was ready for it. It was gonna be me. You guys know who Dan Helson is?
No.
Yeah. So Oh, yes, you guys are wrestling. You guys
Oh,
on
yeah. They have Danhausen, yeah. The
Yeah,
guy with
so-
the face paint, right?
Yeah, so it was me and Denhousing, like he's Denhousing, and then my buddy Mikey Smalls. We were it was supposed to be a three-way match, and then I got hurt. I hurt at my job, and I left wrestling for a bit. Once I was during my divorce process, one of the things that healed me was as I got better, I went back to the wrestling school because I'm a single man now, so I don't have any priorities. I'm back at home with my parents, and I went back to the House of Truth and started training some more there and wrestled for another year and a half. And being gone for that long period of time, like I got better compliments than I had when I first started. Like, dude, you gotta do this, gotta do that. Things aren't good here. And then, like, when I got back, like, you just have to have that year to kind of relook and reevaluate all your work, and just like, okay, so I should do this different next time I come back in, I'll do this. So I had like, my trainer was like, dude, like, why weren't you like that before? And some other guys who trained after me was like, dude, like, this is the first time I've ever seen you do anything Chris. So when it comes to being good, it takes time. Some people get it early on, and some people just never get it. So yeah, we got Albert who joined us. Thanks for being late, Albert.
Yeah. So
we weren't working on Hmong time here. No, you're good. So we all introduced ourselves here. Like we talked about, none of us really know. Well, you guys know each other. You guys live in the same state. You guys go to the same school. Me and Jason knows each other through family. So why don't you talk about yourself, about you, where you're trained, how long you've been training, all that stuff.
Cool. All right. So originally, I just moved up there to Minnesota like about 2 years ago. So I'm from the Green Bay area. So I'm up here, the last 2 years now, and currently training at Ken Anderson's the Academy School of Pro Wrestling alongside with Ying and Thief here. So I think I've seen a picture. Joe was in it. It was like a group picture. I don't remember who was the seminar, but I think I seen a picture of Joe in it. And so I was like wondering, like, oh man, is this guy Hmong too? So so I don't know what else I should add on, but that's pretty much a quick run through. So
yeah, dude, it's funny, like how wrestling, like in our lives, I'm pretty sure wrestling has always been in our lives. Like for me, my grandpa's a wrestling fan, and my earliest memories of wrestling was like the Slim Jim commercials of Macho Man. Yeah. So that's like earliest memories. I always remember seeing clips in my clips in my head of like Hulk Hogan, all that stuff, and then Hulk Hogan slamming Andre the Giant at WrestleMania 3 was a memory that I have. I didn't watch it, but then growing up seeing clips or my grandpa watching wrestling or just in general, like that's what I remember. And in second grade is when I was in second grade, it was like the start of the Attitude Era. So everyone at school was talking about wrestling. It was like everyone's like, suck it, Stone Cold this, all that stuff. And they're like,
during the Attitude Era, that was like that was a huge time.
Yeah, so that's when I started watching wrestling because I wanted to be one of the cool kids. Like I wanted to know what everyone else was knowing, so I started watching wrestling. And I think it was around the time it was Stone Cold and The Undertaker was feuding. It was like during the ministry time. So that's when I first started actively watching wrestling. And it just always stuck. I think in my sixth grade, I researched wrestling. So actually I think I got a B in that match, but that's the first time I actually knew the history of the WWF, like who the first champ was and all that stuff. So from there on, it's like, Rey Mysterio debut. It's like, that's when I really want to be a wrestler. Like, oh, dude, Rey Mysterio, he's small, dude. I want to be just like him.
Yeah, that dude inspired everyone.
Yeah. So from there, I was just like sixth grade, you're in middle school, you're like, oh, I want to be a wrestler too. After that, I didn't really think about becoming a wrestler. And so my brother came home one time from school and he brought a flyer for a show in Warren, which is like down the street from me. And I recognized someone on a flyer. I recognized one name, and I recognized the name Zach Gowen. I don't know Jason, do you guys know who Zach Gowen is?
Yeah, the one
Yeah.
legged wonder.
Yeah. Yep. So he was the only guy I knew, and I was like, man, I gotta see him because I love watching Zach Gowen as a kid when he debuted. So it was like literally right around the corner from my house. It was at high school. I went there, and then there's a flyer for the house wrestling school. I thought about it for a bit, and I'm like, yeah, maybe not. But I started going to the indie shows a lot more, like because I didn't know how close they were. XICW is like a mile or two down the road from me. It's always been there. XICW is like a show here in Michigan that's like 20 plus years now. There's a lot of Kelly's training. So there's a lot of wrestling history at XICW. From the Iron Sheik to Sweet Daddy Malcolm Monroe. A lot of legends like Rhino, Edge, and Christian started there in their early days.
Yep.
And from there on, it's like because I kept going to the shows, I followed each show every time I got a flyer and all the flyers that are posted on social media. So from there, I kind of gave in, and I worked three jobs at the time. So I worked at McDonald's. I worked the midnight shift at McDonald's, and I worked at my uncle's restaurant during the day, and I was going to school too. So I did all that to try to earn the money to get trained for wrestling. So I finally got like just a down payment. I finally got the down payment. I didn't tell anyone I was going, and then like I got a call from my mom. Was like, "Where you at?" "Oh, I'm at wrestling training." Like, what? But yeah, and then it sort of starts like
Actually wrestling?
yeah, wrestling training. Yeah, so I that's my story of like because I wasn't doing anything in life. I was going to school, but like I wasn't doing anything. I just kept going to shows, and I was wanting to be a wrestler. And like, you know what? You have to think too. Like, I really want to be able to, my like my nieces, my nephews, my kids, grandkids. I want to be able to tell them that I did it instead of wishing that I would have done something, and I did it. So, yeah. So that's me. That's my thing. I got more here, but Kelly just joined us. Kelly, can you hear us?
Hey guys. Okay, sorry. I'm not even home right now. You can't even see me because I'm in my car. But I just saw you guys were on live, so I just wanted to pop on and say hi.
Yeah. So.
Oh yeah.
So, I'm sorry. I know you're probably driving or in your car.
No, I'm parked. I'm not driving. I would be so talented if I was driving and on live.
I would have just kicked you off. No, but Kelly, why don't you? We all introduce ourselves. You actually added Steve, Albert, and Yang on to our group, and then Joe. Like I knew Joe, but I knew you because Joe introduced me to you. Introduce yourself to us, and I know you're not training anymore, but give a little bit introduction of you. How long you trained for, and just a little bit, whatever you want to share.
Yeah. So I'm really glad that this group kind of came together. I know you reached out to me and you were wanting to do this podcast, but you weren't really too sure about other Hmong wrestlers. So I'm like, oh, I know a few guys. And so we started that group. So that's cool that it worked out like this. But I started at the academy in March of 2017. I was the second class there. So Joe's the OG. He was in the first class. And then I came in the second class shortly after. And I was there for maybe like 2.5 years training. And then just kind of slowly stopped training. Just a lot going on with work. It was so much fun. I trained with Ken and Cannon, Sean Davari. Nora stopped by a couple of times, and Aria would pop in and out here and there. But yeah, it was really fun.
That's cool. Cool. So you guys all train at the academy. Like how's it like at the academy?
I mean, it depends. I was only trained by one person. They were trained by like 3 or 4.
I was only trained by 10 too. Me, Albert, and Steve. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, your audio kind of cut. What was your audio kind of like fuzzed out there?
I just said, yeah, me, Albert, and Steve, we just trained by Ken. That's about it. Yeah. So.
Okay.
It was really fun when we had like those three trainers, just because I feel like they all had their different ways of different styles of teaching us. And so each night when you go, it would be a different trainer and you would kind of know what to expect. Some, like Cannon specifically, I know I was a really slow learner, and so Cannon would kind of like take his time and really make sure I knew what I was doing, and if I was really struggling, it would be like a repetitive thing for him to be like, okay, well, let's work on it again, and let's do it again and again and again. And versus Sean, he was very like, all right, well, let's just move on, like you can work on it later, you know what I mean? So it was nice having different trainers, so you can kind of adapt to what style works for you. Would you say, Joe?
Yeah, I honestly have nothing else to say. He did it well. It's my experience as well. But then just for me personally, I was always so like on edge or like nervous just because I'm weird and awkward. So I don't remember as much, but pretty much the same. Yeah.
So Jason, like when you were training, I know you told you're trained by Phil Monahan, and I know Phil pretty well too. So like, how was training like for you?
Yeah, back in the day, it sounds kind of strange, but I did start at Dan Severn's school. And I trained for a couple of years, and I had the first show, and then I met Phil and friends with Phil. He had a ring and offered to train me. So if I wanted to, so I went.
Yeah, Jason, your microphone's kind of cutting in and out.
Is it buzzing?
Yeah, it was buzzing a little bit.
It might help if everyone like mutes their mic if they're not talking. I think the extra audio makes it distracting.
Okay.
Oh,
right.
now.
Yep, that's good.
Sound.
Yeah, you're good. I can hear you.
Okay, so it's a bit of a strange path. Keep hearing that buzz.
Yeah.
So I didn't stay at that school. I never finished the first school, and then I just kind of went on the road with Phil, even though he had a school, and I started learning everything as I was doing shows. So they call it the old school way of learning. So you would learn before the shows, just work out before the shows, and pay your dues by setting up the rings and taking them apart. Just being a part of the production team at doing the shows. That's how I kind of learned.
Yeah, I think you had. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's a never-ending process. You never stop learning. There's always something to learn.
Yeah, I think your training is a little bit different from like us. I mean, I know like Phil didn't really have a school, but you did go to a school. At the House of Truth, because I've talked to Ken last year. I met Ken at Legend of Wrestling last year. I had I was with some of the guys from the academy. I asked Ken like how is your training going? It's like a lot of cardio and everything, and I told him I train at the House of Truth. So the way the House of Truth does things at that school is he has a 12-week program, and after 12 weeks you always come back to kind of like use the ring, train. It's free after you're done training. So he pretty much takes because he was trained by Al Snow, so he pretty much uses Al's curriculum. Like the whole first week was bumping and hitting. It's like repetitive bumping and hitting the ropes. So all we did was bump, hit the ropes. Kind of just learn how to bump, and then it's like they slowly progress to train wrestling. Like he pretty much just trains you like after 12 weeks. It's like the basics. The basics, you guys know how to play in a match. And if you have the blessing to do a show, like he'll after 12 weeks, you should have enough information to do a show. He'll let you like say, all right, you can go do some shows like here and there. But like if you're not good, he's not gonna like be comfortable with it, because like it's his reputation online too. Like if you send someone else, a guy who sucked at training, like he's not gonna let you go. So right after my first week of training, I had my first show against two of the assistant trainers. That sucked, but your first match is always gonna suck. But yeah, the training was really repetitive. Like one day it's just because there's 10 of us in the class because Truth Martini like allows 10 people at a time. It's like you pretty much all right bump, all right, this is how you do this, and all day we're just kind of like rotating. Like body slam day. It's like you body slam this guy, like you body slam one guy, next guy, and then you go rotation. They did body slam like 30 to 40 times that day, and it's like so it's for like a lot of repetitive stuff. So like how's Ken's curriculum at the academy?
So for when we were training with Ken, it was more of like the basic. Actually, we didn't do bump that like that. It was more of like we're doing headlocks, wrist locks, waist locks. Just running the ropes a lot. Actually, we didn't really do bumps until furthermore. Then we started doing like a little bit of body slam, cross body, suplex, and stuff like that. But it was really like repetitive. We come in, we do our squats every day, we do our rows, and then right after the row is done, then he'll make us do like chain wrestle. Like we had to do a lockup, headlock takeover, shoulder tackles, and then take a hip toss or arm drag. It depends what he wants that day. So we do like basic chain wrestling constantly.
Hello. Do you guys remember your first bump and how that felt for you?
Sure. It hurts like hell.
Jason, you remember your first bump? That was like, I know you're so much long ago. How was your first bump?
You guys ever done like Space Monkey where somebody chokes you out and you get knocked out?
No.
Done that? Well, it's basically you get drunk. I felt punch drunk, like I was just like about to be knocked out, but I was like high on that rush. So I might have hit my head a little bit. That's probably why.
Joe, what about your first bump?
I just remember getting a lot of like adrenaline from it because like I was so excited for taking my first bump in a wrestling ring, so I just had a bunch of adrenaline.
What about you, Ying? What about your first bump?
I don't remember much from it. I remember I took it pretty well. It wasn't that much of a struggle for me.
What you, Albert?
Why you gotta get so cocky?
I'm not cocky. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I apologize. I couldn't really hear as I was having audio issues. But yeah, my first bump, I don't remember it too well. I don't think it hurt, but I think the fear of actually before taking the bump, like that took me a while before I actually took the bump.
Like the
I
anticipation.
don't remember the pain, but I do remember the anticipation before I even like did the whole bump. So yeah, that was pretty scary.
Yeah.
What about you, Kelly?
Yeah, kind of just following Albert. I feel like the anticipation was way worse than the actual bump. I was just like so nervous and anxious, and I remember just not being able to do it. And Ken said something like, it's weird because your whole life you work on not falling on your back, but now we're like telling you to fall on your back, and so it's like your body is not letting you do it. So I remember I wasn't able to do it, and they had to have a big guy, Brandon Gore, go on all fours, and then I just had to literally like fall on him so that I would actually be able to take a bump. So I worked on that for a couple of nights, and then it was fine after that. But yeah, it's more so the anticipation of knowing you're gonna fall.
Yeah, I remember. I always heard that saying too. Like you grow up, you kind of you're not trying to get hit. You're not trying to hurt yourself. Here it's kind of like, yeah, we're willingly like hurting ourselves. We're injuring ourselves. I remember my first bump. It was during allergy season too. So like I had a runny nose. So like when I bumped, like all that snot came out of my nose. And It felt like I got hit by a car. I'm like, man, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. I can't quit now. Like I just paid like $1,000 to my trainer. I can't quit now. You're like, and it just sucked. Like for the first few weeks, I wasn't bumping right because one reason why you could tell like that you bumped wrong is if you start having like if your elbow started to scratch up and bleed. So I mean that's why like most people wear elbow pads, but you don't wear elbow, like we're told not to wear elbow pads. So yeah, it sucked. But did they say like when you take your first bump, like we take a bump, I think it was Time Magazine or some magazine did a study on bumping. It's like the impact that we take as a wrestler from a bump is like the as relevant as you getting hit by a car going I think 25 to 35 miles per hour. So every time we're taking a bump, it's like we're taking a car crash that's like 25 to 30 miles per hour. So yeah, I mean that's what we do to our bodies. And I was like, now when you bump, it's like this is nothing. Like it's
because our body's already broken.
yeah. I mean, I'm pretty sure we've taken a few years off our life expectancy, and yeah, dude. Like I remember one of my friends was like, yeah, like I got into a car accident and I was fine. I'm like, oh, I guess wrestling kind of conditions your body to a certain point where you don't feel any of that. I mean,
Those resistance, huh?
yeah.
But it hurts like hell when you come back.
Yeah,
though.
that's dude.
When you come back
Yeah,
out.
man, that first bump in a long time.
The last time I took a bump, I was, when I was filming my short film. You guys all, I don't know if you guys all watch my short film, but I'm there and I haven't been in the ring for so long, so it's like, before filming and after filming, it's like I hit the ropes, bump, because it's like you kind of missed it after being gone for so long. I missed that feel of bumping, and like it's weird. Like I think it makes us sound weird that like we're embracing the fact that we want to get hit. We want to feel that pain. It's weird, but yeah. I think it was like, what have you guys experienced so far? Just what are the cool things that you guys have done so far? I know you guys haven't been doing much. You guys don't have been much shows, but like, I mean, you guys, from my experience, has experienced something that not a lot of Hmong people has ever experienced in their lives. So why don't you guys, any of you guys, just share whatever you guys feel like you guys want to share about your experiences pro wrestling, the good and the good and the bad.
Go ahead, Jason. You go first.
Or Jason or me?
The bad is always the injuries. Like,
Yeah, well, one of you guys have a lot of background, so can you guys want? Yeah.
the injuries are always bad, especially when you know you have it and you try to work because I don't know if they teach you this day, but like back in the day, they say if you could walk, you could work. So I didn't realize I was that injured, and I tried to work and got more injured. So that's the bad of it, but the good of it, there's so much good in it. I mean, there's so many memories. I don't know what to choose from, but I just want to say I hope to see some of you guys, your careers take off soon, and hear more about you guys in the future, because this is all still a shock to me. I don't know. I didn't know that there was Hmong people doing it right now.
Yeah, I put you guys on mute because there's some background, but yeah, like Jason was saying, like I've said it before, it's I'm actually really happy to see that more people are doing this in our community. I mean, I know it's a lot of times it's sad that I always want, maybe not sad, but like I've always focused on Hmong community for some reason, but I think that's because that's who we are. Like we're Hmong, and we would love to see more Hmong people be involved. There was a point where it was just supposed to be a promo, right? Like because one of the promoters was doing a show not too far from my house at another high school, and I was like, hey, I know that high school. I know a lot of Hmong people there. You know, maybe. And I worked the promoter by saying, hey, I can sell you tickets. I know people who go to that school. I know Hmong people around there. You know, and there's a New Year happening like a week before the show. Why don't you let me promote your show I'll promote your show at the New Year, and we'll see what happens. Yeah, okay, cool. So I did that. I reached out to the president of the time of the Hmong Association. He's passed now, so rest is so like I'll always be thankful for him. So he's like, yeah, you can come do your thing. Like, how much time do you need? I'm like, maybe I'm just gonna come do like a quick 5-minute promo, trying to promote the show. Maybe have someone come in, like interrupt me, and we'll tease something so that way people will come to the show. It's like, yeah, we'll have time. Like if you want, bring your guys and guys can wrestle. Like, okay, cool. So we planned a show in 1 week at the Hmong Year, and like, dude, we like that day we pretty much I was a superstar that day. Like. But I've never been this over in my life. This to run like trying to book people for a show in 1 week is really hard. Like, and especially when you're not paying them too. Which, like one thing is, if I run a show, I'm always gonna try to pay my guys. But I mean, I can't guarantee that. But like, it's like, but because they did it all in favor for me. Like the show went really good, and everyone wanted more of the show for the next years, but then like they kept giving me excuses like we don't want to be liable for what happens, and we don't have the proper facility, which I understand, and like, well, if that's the case, sign waivers, because some shows that you do, I know we talked about contracts, don't ever sign a contract, but there are some times where like the building wants you to sign a waiver that whatever happens, they're not liable. Like if that's the case, like if you're afraid of being liable for something, we'll sign waivers. But we're still working on it. I think my brother Arthur, is trying to still convince like them to let us do something, but we'll see, man. So what was your guys' first show? Like, did you guys know about any wrestling before you guys joined training, or like share the show that you've been to, share your experience, like your first show, how you found out indie wrestling.
Oh man, for me, I didn't even know about indie wrestling, actually, to be honest. I've never really paid attention to indie wrestling. I seen it on YouTube, never been to one. Just until like recently, like just when I started going to the academy, and I finally been to one. And the first one I ever went to was called MAW, Midwest All-Star Wrestling. I think that's what they call it. And that's the first one I ever went to, and I was there for Grand Slam 2. I got to meet like the Animals and some other bunch of superstars that was there. And that was it. And I was just like, got to met some promoters, and went on and made connection with different promoters and stuff like that afterwards. Meeting new friends. The crazy thing about it is that you get to see a lot of finisher do in one show. Like that's one of the most crazy thing I ever seen in India is you get to see a lot of like finish after one, it's just like boom, 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 boom. You're just like, oh, damn, that's odd. But it's cool though. Afterwards, you start, accepting it, you get into it, it works like that though, for me.
What about you guys? What's the first show you guys ever been to? Let's even at WWE shows or WCW, depending on how old we are, or TNA shows. Any shows you guys ever been to? What's the first show you've ever been to?
Like an indie show, right?
Any show. I mean, you could talk about indies. Like I would like to talk about indies because that's pretty much what we are right now. We're the indies. Like you guys are the indies right now. But so let's go on. Like how was your first show experience? Let's go with that.
I was kind of like Steve. I knew there was indie wrestling around, but I didn't really go to any shows until I started training at the academy. Um, I think it was maybe Darius. He was just like, "Oh yeah, there's a show Friday night. You should go." So then I was like, "Okay." So I went to the show, and it was so much fun. I feel like indie shows are fun because it's so much more intimate and it's smaller, and you really get to interact with the wrestlers versus if you're sitting in the nosebleeds at WWE. You know what I mean? Like it's just really fun and it's a different experience. And I've taken some friends who like are not even into wrestling and they're like, "Oh my God, I didn't realize how fun these shows were." And yeah, it really is just so much fun.
What about the rest of you guys?
My first indie show was
I would
AWS.
say,
Bro, you have to like
oh, go
clash.
ahead. Go ahead, yeah.
No, you go ahead, man. You go ahead.
Yang, you go first.
Okay, all right. I'm sorry, Albert. My first show was AWF. That's when I just started training. Like I never been to like an indie show before, and because like before I went to like WWE shows and stuff, but then like I don't know, just something about indie shows that's like really comforting. It's like Kelly said, you know, it's a smaller building. I like the atmosphere and like just I don't know, just good shows, you know. That was my first experience. I enjoyed it.
Me, Albert.
Cool. I'll give two accounts. One was my first local show that I watched on television was ACW, and it's not the same one that is owned today by Hornswoggle or Swoggle. And I remember watching the first episode I watched of ACW All Star Championship Wrestling. I saw actually our coach Ken. At the time, he went by Kamikaze Ken, and when he did his finisher, which was the Kenta Bomb, I was like, man, this guy's a copycat of Jeff Hardy, right? Because I was a huge WWE fan. And so I watched this local wrestling on television that in like Saturday afternoon. And so that was the first indie show that I actually watched on television. And the first show that I actually went in person was also in Green Bay, where I think the main event was Adam Pierce. I think it was like Jody. I don't remember. He's retired now. He retired last year, and then as well as Greg the Hammer Valentine was a part of it. So it was like a tag team match, and so I thought I thought it was pretty exciting because like what Kelly said is like very more intimate, and so yeah, you're a lot closer to the people. And especially there was like other guys that were there, like Steve Carino as well as Rhino and them too that popped up. It's like, dude, I've never seen these guys live in person. So it's just really cool to meet the guys that you watch on television and interact with them in a way. So it's pretty exciting for me.
Rhino. I love Rhino. Like,
So
he's one of my good friends. Rhino's a cool guy. So Joe, you didn't get to go yet. So
yeah, so my first show was probably just some random brawl that was in town one time, but my first indie show was maybe like just 2 years ago. I went to a First Ave show, and I mean, like, it's such a cool experience. I hated that I waited so long to go to a First Ave show, and like, it's like, what the heck? It's so like you guys said, intimate and like crowded and loud and just so fun. I wish I had gone sooner, but yeah, my first indie show.
Jason, do you remember your first show?
Yeah, I was. Believe it or not, I have like a secret alumni of indie wrestlers that were there that I actually got to meet later on, and I told them about it. Like almost, I'd say 70% of the wrestlers there. I went in knowing that I wanted to get into the business, so I checked out the show, and I saw a 15-year-old Jimmy Jacobs wrestle there, and yeah, he was young.
Love Jim
He
Jacobs.
was really young. He must look like a high school kid when he was wrestling, and I met a lot of guys that were well. From then on, I found out about the school that I went to, and yeah, it was amazing that I met all those guys like later on as I got into the business too.
Was that the time Jimmy Jacobs was bouncing on a pogo stick? Because he was like pogo. He was his gimmick at the time was he was doing the pogo stick thing.
I didn't see him do that, but he did wear a really tall top hat, something like that.
That guy, he has like, I mean, he has so many gimmicks out there. It's cool. Like he's always reinventing himself. Like like Jimmy Jacobs is one of like the smartest guys that I know in wrestling. Like I remember when I traveled to IWA with him and Zach. Like it was just kind of, I was just learning from him. It's like, dude, like, you know, it's okay to take two. Kind of like when you're filming your promos. Like if it's live, it's different. But like when you're doing promos and stuff, and then you're doing a taping or you're filming something, you know, so it's okay to do another shot, like until you know, it's okay to have that second chance. It's pretty much what I took it from him. My first show, you know, I think, and you mentioned earlier, Greg the Hammer Valentine was the first wrestler that I've ever met. I didn't like it. Like it was my first interaction. I don't know. Have you guys ever heard of Greg stories about like how he tries to, you know, hustle? Like he won't sign anything unless you pay and all that stuff. I've had one of those experiences. So
I didn't pay, but I did take pictures of Greg though when we did a show at Heavyweight Wrestling, and I walked in and I was like, let's take a picture, and he was just like, okay, because I was one of the ring crews too. So he was like, okay, and we just took one, and I walked away.
yeah, he was I mean, like, I mean, I'm over. I mean, I mean, it was like 9-10 years ago, and it was my.
It's okay. It still bars you.
But yeah, I think it wasn't for me. It was for my brother. You know, like, you know, this is his first show, my first show, his first show. You know, Greg that time was like our first wrestler that we've ever met, and it's like. Then I had that experience, like, you know, because he told us to come back later because he wasn't signing anything at the time. And so we came back and he just kind of waved us off. And I'm like, man, dude, like, screw this guy. Well, that was like years ago. I mean, and since then I heard other stories, but it's whatever. I mean, we're on the other side of the fence. That's cool meeting our heroes and everything. Or, I mean, he wasn't really a hero of mine, but like, it was a cool thing. You mentioned Rhino earlier. Rhino. Yeah, he almost blackballed me once. You guys know what blackball means, right? He almost blackballed me. Well, he was looking out for me. It was St. Patrick's Day. This is a funny Rhino story because it involves his girlfriend. So it was around St. Patrick's Day. We were at a bar, and my buddies were there, and I was at that bar because one of the DJs who's also a real good friend of Reynolds was DJing there, so I went there to kind of like, because I wanted a night out, and I told the other guys, the boys, to come, and they're like, hey, there's a girl there, like, go hit on her. She was selling the beer like in the middle of the bar, and I want to be cool, so I want to go try to show them that I had game, you know, because that's what the boys do. They'll try to have you crazy stuff. So I went over there. I talked to her for a while, and you know, we were having a conversation, and then she mentioned her boyfriend, right? And she's like, "Yeah, my boyfriend's always traveling." I was like, "Oh, well, who's your boyfriend? Like, what's your boyfriend doing?" Like, he's a pro wrestler. I'm like, really? Because I'm a pro wrestler. I was like, "Who's your boyfriend?" I don't know if you know Rhino. Like, oh. Okay, I'll be right back. So I went to go grab the guys, like, dude, that's Rhino's girlfriend. And then we all went to go talk to her, dude. Rhino's like, so and then my buddy Austin Maddox texts Rhino, dude, Andrew Lee's hitting on your girl, man. So, like, but that night, the reason why he almost blackballed me was I was drunk that night, and my buddy was drunk that night, and we shouldn't have driven home. So Rhino made me do homework. He's like, dude, like, if you don't bring me this, the next show that we're on together, like, I'm gonna blackball you. So he had me pretty much research drunk driving accidents. Like he's like, I want you to research all this. I want you to print the nastiest picture. I want you to show it to me. I'm like, if you do not show it to me, like, I'm gonna pretty much blackball you for wrestling. Like I was scared. So I did that. Like Ryan's one of those guys who will look out for you. So it's cool that like there's some guys out there in wrestling who's gonna look out for you, not just like they'll look out for your best interest, also take care of you, not just. So I want to get into this topic. So like they'll look out for you. They'll want you to be better. So that that was my funny little Rhino story that I almost hit on his girlfriend. He still riz me about it whenever I do talk about it with him. Have you guys ever gotten heat for anything you have done so far, like in wrestling? Like Jason, you've have you ever gotten heat?
Oh yeah, that's how you learn sometimes. Just not so much for backstage or back in the locker room stuff, but like I'd screw up in a match or something, and I get to the back, and the guys it was like a tag match, and the tag team that they knew I screwed up, so they held me and started chopping me in the chest and left like big red imprints on it, and I didn't know. Well, they did it because I screwed up, and I knew I screwed up. But like later on, I became friends with them, and I don't know.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
That doesn't sound like heat. That just sounds like they're just. Yeah, that doesn't sound like.
That was just dick.
They're just hazing you, bro. They're like, like with heat, I've had heat like with a bunch of different people. I mean, me and the promoter who helped me with the Hmong New Year thing, like, I don't know if we say we have heat, but I kind of like had some bitterness towards him for a bit. I mean, it's been a while now, so like I don't care. But he wanted to like, I felt like he was trying to kind of rip me off in a way with like, all right, next time we do something at the New Year's, it's like I'm gonna need like 5 Gs, like 5 Gs, like, bro, this is the nonprofit thing. Like, we got no money, and it's like, okay, if not, then 2 Gs. So pretty much he was like, this guy's he's known to like charge so much but not pay the boys. So since then, like he said some other stuff about me too. Like he even made a Facebook post about me because I'm a small guy. It's nothing new. Like I'm small. I don't work. It's nothing new. It's nothing that I didn't know about myself. It was like, it wasn't a shocker to me. But like we've had heat for I haven't talked to him since. I've gotten fired from a show once. Actually, XICW, Malcolm Monroe fired me once for double booking myself. Me and Malcolm are cool now, but like stuff like that, you'll get heat. And anything involving XICW, I end up getting heat for. Because that I was booked on one of Phil's show for NWA CIW, mainly because I gave into the whole it's an pay-per-view, and I gave into that. But then I had a good opportunity at XICW show, which I felt like I should have taken. I had heat for pretty much. There was a show that we did close to the UP. I got hurt at the school. We were teaching the new kids how to go over the rope, and I was feeling really good. And you know how you're supposed to like grab the rope and then like pulse on the apron. I was feeling so good. I was in five. Like I did 5 of them in a row, and then like that last time, I pretty much Undertaker dive over the rope. And I was like, as soon as I got over the rope, I was like, I forgot something. I forgot to grab the rope, and the floor was kind of like, I would say concrete, but it was hard floor. And so I pretty much Undertaker dove and took a front bump on the hard floor and pretty much pulled something. Like I was hurt, and I had a show. Yeah, so I had 2 shows that weekend too. So I canceled the American Sky Dojo up in the UP because I was hurt. And then the next day, since XICW was only down the road for me, the story was like I was in a 6-man match. I didn't cancel that show because I figured since it's close, we'll just write me out somehow. So I took a power bomb pretty much, and a bump is a bump. Like no matter what kind of bump it is, it's like even if it's a power bomb. You guys know this by now. Like you think it's chokes and power bomb. Like no matter how high, it's a bump's a bump. Doesn't matter what kind of bump you take. It's all the same thing. But to the fans, it looks like it's the worst thing ever. You know, like it's a bump. It's like the same height as taking a suplex, right? So the next day, the promoter messaged me and we kind of like had heat for that. Like I know I canceled your show, but like, I mean, it was probably my fault too. But you know, that the reason why I took that bump was to kind of explain why I wasn't in the rest of the match, because I was hurt and I was legit hurt. But yeah, I learned from there. But you know, there's other times I've had heat. But the reason why I brought this up was because I know we mentioned on the chat like why I feel like wrestling etiquette is a thing. Because you know, like when you don't shake hands with somebody, it's like you'll get heat for that. I remember being at the school, my buddy Kid Hybrid or Orlando Christopher came in. He was kind of like he wanted some ring time, so you know, every kid shook his hand, but one kid, and in a way, like I get it, but at the same time, like when you're in the locker room, you're being watched. Like you're being watched like a hawk. He didn't shake Kid Hybrid's hand, and he called him out. Like, dude, like everyone here shake my hand, but you walked around me 2 times. 2 times you didn't shake my hand. Like, what's up with that? But part of the reason why I feel like etiquette in wrestling is a thing is I heard Cody Rhodes once say like the age you start training is the age that you pretty much stay. And I thought about that so much. I'm like, that's kind of true. If you look at Ric Flair, like Ric Flair, like still acts like a kid, you know. So, and I think etiquette is made so like if wrestling for me, how should I look at it? If say if we're no longer wrestling, right, and people train at a young age, they don't know how to act. You know, they don't know how to have manners. They don't know how to be respectful. So I think one of the reasons why I feel like etiquette is a thing is if you're no longer wrestling and you go on a job interview and you act the way you do in a wrestling ring, wrestling is going to teach you some life lessons, like on how to treat other people outside of wrestling. And you know, it's not just a wrestling thing; it's a real life thing. Like us Hmong people, when I see you guys at a local party, we shake each other's hands. You know, like that's just out of respect. I think the reason why you get so much heat in wrestling for not showing etiquette is it's a respect thing. Yes, it is, but then also it's so you don't act up in life. And everything that Truth Martini teaches us in the wrestling school, yeah, it's for wrestling, but like I use it in life. You know, like
It's a lifestyle.
It's a lifestyle. You know, does Ken teach you guys to say thank you after everything that's said to you guys, even if you guys don't like it?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, he's always saying like, even if like there's a guy who is like inexperienced and doesn't like he has no knowledge of wrestling, like if he sees your match and he says that he critiques it, like just take it. You know, a good idea is always a good idea. So
yeah,
like, yeah.
Even if you don't like it, and you know, like Truth Martini is like, dude, like always say thank you, even if you do not like it.
Yeah. It doesn't hurt you, you know, like,
and just using that I use it in life, everyday life, and some people are annoyed by it, but then like after you do it, it's like they have a whole different respect for you. Like you take everything you learn in wrestling, you could use it, you could apply it to real life. You guys ever heard the story about you guys know this is just what I've heard. You guys know why the Young Bucks didn't get signed to WWE when they had a tryout? Is there that story?
no, I've never heard of the story.
So Booker T went up to management or like the higher ups and it's like, hey, don't hire these guys because they have an attitude. And what has happened was they didn't shake Booker T's hand. So stuff like that gets you heat. Like that's why, you know, whenever you guys are on a show, just be careful. And from what I heard of, you know, you guys hear just sort of like Alex Riley and John Cena, how they have heat. From what I was told, it was because John Cena critiqued Alex Riley. And Alex Riley just goes on and say, well, Arn Anderson told me to do it this way. That pissed John Cena off. So since then, it's like, you kind of rubbed him the wrong way. Just say thank you and take it. And you'll be surprised at how many guys out there who doesn't know that. Like, there's a lot of vets out there. It's like, dude, why do you guys say thank you all the time? It's like, that's just what we're told. Like, just say thank you. EC3, when I took a seminar, he was just like, these effing thank yous, man. Like, just stop. Like, it's just planted in your mind. Like,
it's become a habit,
Yeah. I mean, so we're talking about heat and stuff. Now that you guys are on the other side, you guys aren't fans anymore. I mean, you guys are. I mean, we'll always still be fans, but like, being in this business, being in wrestling, what have you guys noticed? Like, does your perspective change? Does your feeling towards it change? Why don't you guys go on? You guys share. I've talked for a while now.
For me, wrestling is not the same anymore because, like, once you learn the lingos and you learn the inside of the business, it's not that fun anymore because then it makes you critique them too because you're learning how the match works and you're seeing what they're doing. The fan doesn't see what they're doing is wrong, but you see it. And in your mind, you're like, oh my God, he just messed up that spot. Like, oh my God, he's not even there for that spot. Like, dude, like it's like right off the bat, you start critiquing regardless, even if you're not in the match or you can't watch it the same. Well, for me, I just can't watch wrestling the same more because after, working the business, learning stuff, having Ken teaching us the lingos, having us, like learning when to call the spot, when not to call the spot, what to do, what not to do. And you see in the ring, you be like, oh man, like he's not, you can see like, oh man, he's not doing correctly. But then again, that's just you know what I'm saying? You're critiquing the match ready without even like realizing that you're critiquing. And it's, to me, that's how I look at it now these days. It's I still like high spots. I still like some spots, but it what it is.
You're looking for different things when you're watching a match now, right? You're not just like, oh my gosh, he just did a 450 flip. Like,
That still amazes me.
I mean, like, don't get me wrong. I'm still amazed by, watching Jeff Cobb doing a standing moonsault. Don't get me wrong. Instead of Jeff Cobb's a big guy, or Samoa Joe doing this crazy, like, Exegura kick, and he's a big guy. But I'm just saying, like, you're like, the way you look at it now is it's a little bit different. I still like those spots, though. I'm not against it. It's just you critiqued it now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I got tired of, like, I mean, I do it. I got tired of head scissors. After a while, like, dude, head scissors, I see it all the time. It doesn't wow me anymore, and I do it still, And wow, but yeah.
The most thing I hate right now in indie, the move that I hate the most in indie right now is the cutter. Everybody's doing a cutter. It's always a cutter from somewhere. Always like it's always annoying. Like,
it's a meme.
You're doing a cutter.
It's a meme now, dude.
Yeah, I know it's a thing, but I'm just saying it's like it's so overused to like. Oh, quarter on the apron. Oh, there's a cutter on the corner. Oh, this guy just did a springboard 360 cutter. It's just, in your mind, you're just like, man, it's cutter after cutter. Like, it's really, to be honest, to me, it's just overused.
Yeah. So what about the rest of you guys? Like, what changed? How did wrestling change your perspective, and like, what have you noticed?
I guess for me, like, I've learned I like it even more now. I've started to appreciate wrestlers that I didn't think that was good. Yeah,
like Booker T's one of those guys who I wasn't really a big fan of, and then after training, it's like, man, dude, I really have a high appreciation of Booker T.
Yeah, and like I didn't like chain wrestling like at all, like before training and stuff. And then like after training, you start appreciating like all the chain locks and like all the technical wrestling.
For me, I've really appreciated the little stuff they do in the ring to like forward a story. Like this is a little like it's so bizarrely artistic. When you aren't a wrestler, you don't really realize how artistic wrestling really is. But like once you understand it, it's like you're just you're like creating this piece of art, and like it's I don't know. To me, it's so different now. It's like it's comparable to like painting a painting for me at least. Like just these little details to forward this little story in it just a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's really different for me.
Yeah, one of the things about wrestling, it's an art form. That's one thing we learned. That's why I like to, when we compare wrestling and art, like we don't like to compare wrestling to MMA. Like it's a completely different because MMA is like it's a kind of pro wrestling is art form. Like when you watch movies and you see a good actor, with such a great monologue and such a great scene, you just want to cry. That's kind of how. That's what we want in wrestling. We want that feel. We want us to be good. Like we want that feel good moment when it comes to wrestling. Oh yeah, Albert. Albert, what's changed for you? You're on mute. Sorry, you're on mute, bro. Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, I gotcha. Yeah, I definitely have more love and respect for the business and pro wrestling in general. See, the one thing I realized when I joined the military a couple years back and then got out and I started watching these movies again, it was like, no, he's not doing it correctly. That's not a push-up. Or, things like that. Like, it was the same thing when I joined in pro wrestling, was that I started realizing certain things, certain spots, how people communicate with each other. And this is before going to the school. Like guys, like I see the little signal that they give up to each other, and I kept seeing like even the referee, like he would like grab the wrestler's hand, and and where if the wrestler was to grab his hand, it means that hey, I'm okay. And I started seeing these things, and for me, it was really cool how they just communicated with each other without us realizing it, watching on television or even live. And so I thought, like magic tricks, pretty much is like there's the magic behind it. And they're so good at it that you can't even tell if like the hit was real or not, or like the slam or the way that they performed a certain move, because everybody has such a unique move. Like the 5-star frog splash looks different from Eddie Guerrero's frog splash, and everybody just makes it so unique, and that they have this beautiful flow within the ring and the storytelling. So I definitely have much more respect to the guys in the business, big or small, is like experiencing it myself. Although I haven't had a match in the indies yet, just being able to be in the ring and do the things that they do, and understand like, oh man, like for like the power bump is pretty the same height as a suplex. It's like, man, I did not even think about that before. It's just so cool to kind of see behind the scenes. So for sure, I have more of a passion and love for it.
Right. Your mic cut out there, but yeah, dude, like just perspective change. Like, dude, I remember with training with Truth Martini, and when he was like, "How high is this?" Oh, like how high is this? Like, is this high? Like, all right, what about this? Is that much higher? Yeah. So it's just you got to think about it. Like, oh, okay, it's not as high as like what our perspective. Wrestling is perspective. I remember going to the last WWE show I went to, or not the last WWE show I went to. It was a show, one of the WWE shows, and there was a cage match, and the crowd just went wild because apparently there was a suplex that happened from the top of the cage. I was like, it wasn't at the top of the cage. Pretty much, it's just a regular
superplex, right?
Just a regular superplex. Like, yeah, the other guy happened to be on top of the cage, and the other dude, I think it was Seth Rollins, was not Seth Rollins. It was I don't remember who the match was, but it was just like it's just a regular superplex. That's the same height as a regular. Like I've taken a Tower of Doom once, and it's like it's just the same height. It's just perspective. Like that's the thing that that people don't see, which is cool. I mean, we might be giving a lot away in this podcast because like Hmong people in general, like they they don't see this because the average Hmong people don't see this because obviously we all have our own thing. Maybe they do. So Kelly, you are a little bit different from us. Like you are the only girl in this group. How are your experiences like? Like even especially you, like how do you feel with being like as of right now? You're probably the only Hmong girl who ever trained pro wrestling.
Yeah, so I was thinking when you were talking about etiquette, how you should go around and shake everyone's hand. We come from a very patriarchal society in the Hmong culture, and you guys know that's just not done. When you go to a party, the men don't care about shaking the women's hands. So when I was at the academy, like I was kind of in the same mindset. So I remember one night we were done training and all the guys were just kind of sitting around. And so I was like, all right, well, I'm about to leave. And I literally just get my stuff and I walk towards the door. And Ken's like, hey, are you leaving? And then I was like, yeah. And he's like, all right. Well, he gets up and he shakes my hand. He's like, well, have a good night. And that kind of made me realize, like, oh my God, like he shook my hand, like he actually cares to shake my hand and he cares that I shake his hand. And I should really start to get out of that mindset that I am in with the Hmong culture, the mindset that I was raised up on, and so that really changed my outlook on my value as a woman in the wrestling world and even just in the world in general. It just it's hard coming from our culture and really being brought up to believe that you're less than, because then you come into situations like this where you feel like, oh, I'm not worthy of shaking people's hands or whatever. So that's something that really always stuck out to me, training as a female in a male dominated industry.
So Jason, I mean, everyone shared their experience with wrestling and their views. I mean, you're pretty much like I said, you're the OG of this group. What about your experience? Like, what changed for you when you said this was like? Give us the mindset of how it was like when you first started.
Well, it's very parallel to what everybody said. Like you do, well, once you pick up on it and you realize the work that goes in and what or how things are done, you start to notice things afterwards when you watch it and appreciate it more, appreciate the quality of the workers. And I'm still trying to understand a lot of things with the new product that's out there these days. I don't watch wrestling anymore. I really don't. I just kind of hear about the news on my news feed. So I don't really know what's going on out there, but yeah, I'm starting to trying to watch it again, but it's been hard.
It has been hard. I mean, I think I'm at your point too right now. Like I'll watch it here and there, but I don't watch it as regularly anymore. I mean, I'm pretty sure that the rest of you guys are almost in that boat. Am I correct in saying that? Joe?
I'm sort of in it, but I still try to keep up with it because I like to see different spots every day because new people try to come with new spot every day, or wrestler who tries to come with new spots. That's the only reason why I'll keep up and watch with it. Like remember that question I asked you, Jason, or not that you, Jason, but Andrew, I asked you, what do you prefer? You prefer WWE or do you prefer New Japan wrestling? Right? I used to like watching WWE, but then I moved away from it, and I found New Japan, and then I started loving and started liking New Japan stuff now because it's because they're doing spots that I have never seen that it's just like wow, it's amazing to me, and so it gets me excited about it, and plus I like that strong style, it's something new and different to me. Watching WWE, it's WWE. So WWE is like what Ken Anderson teaches us. It tells you a story. Like who is the bad guy, who is the good guy, and tells you the story and stuff like that, and you figure out who's the bad guy, right? Well, in Japan, it's more of a competition. It's more about who's the better wrestler, who's the strongest wrestler, and that's what makes it different, and that's what makes me like it more. Because it's not about telling the story about anything. It's just about like I'm trying to outbeat you and stuff like that. And plus, I feel like in Japan, everybody's given a fair shot. Like everybody's given a fair shot to go for the title or the heavyweight title. Not everybody get put down.
Yeah, Japan has a different style. They're because we should know this because we come from an Asian mindset. They have that Asian mindset, like the loyalty, honor, respect mindset. Like if you are the younger one, you gotta let the older one go over, and a lot of that time that's just a mindset. Like if you're an outsider, like if you're a gaijin, like or a white person, it's like now white people or a outsider to the Japan culture, they're getting more over there. But like now it's like before it was just like if you're the way Americans treat outside of the like the black and whites is the way that Japan treats their outsiders. It's like if you're in America, we're Americans, but like if you're not white or black, it's like you're not gonna get the same opportunity as those guys. Then in Japan, it's like if you're not one of us, it's like you'll go over maybe once or twice. If you're a name, okay, you're maybe an exception, but like it's all about respect over here. Like it's all about honor. It's all about where you are in this hierarchy. Like it's like us. So I call this guy uncle because of this and this and that. You gotta respect him like this because he is related to you like this. Okay, all right. So Kelly had to go, guys. So, we'll wind up here in a little bit. So where do you guys just go? Like I know me and Jason we're retired. We're done for the moment. Cliche. Never say never.
Please come back.
Yeah.
Even for just a little bit, I'd like to see that too.
So what are you guys' goals? Like, because there's just in wrestling, there's a lot of opinions in wrestling and a lot of mindsets of like, if you're not here to be a champion, then why are you here? Type of mindset, stuff like that. But we all have different goals. I had different goals. I have different visions. I have different passions. A part of me kind of got into that mindset of, yeah, maybe that's right. Like, why am I taking an opportunity from these guys when their passion is to make it? My passion is just to have fun, just to be here. I didn't have a goal in wrestling, so if I didn't have a goal, then why the hell am I here? That was the mindset I had. So that's one of the reasons why I left. But I left because I had different goals. But what are you guys' goals? Like the new guys, and then if Jason wants to chime in on what he wants to, like what his goal was, or what he if he has any future goals. But I want to hear from you guys first.
So for me, my goal is to go Japan, like to wrestle for Japan. That's my goal.
Of course, Steve. Of course.
I'm not trying to wrestle in the U.S. because I have a good feeling that I will not make it. It's because due to my height, I have the body, but I don't have the height. So I'm limited to where I'm standing. So I feel like if I can go to Japan and shine out in Japan, then maybe I could come back, like into the US and then wrestle, for other promoter. But that is my goal, is to go wrestle in Japan because that's what I liked it. And I like to know how to wrestle again. And that's what fits my kind of wrestling style. So that's what I'm shooting for.
For me, I'm just I'd be lying to myself if I'd said that I didn't want to become champion. Of course, you want to be the best that you can in the business, become world champion. But then for me, it's more like a journey for me, like growing in the business. I think that's what I look for, mostly looking forward to. And traveling, meeting new people, and just like wrestling different promotions and like just seeing different outlooks of life. So yeah.
For me, my immediate goal is to start training as soon as I can, or like whenever training is available. I want to start training as soon as I can. And like my bigger goal is just to be able to have some sort of platform or a little bit of freedom to create stories that affect people, through wrestling and like through promos and videos and stuff like that.
What about you, Albert? You're still on mute, bro. Let me unmute you.
Oh, gotcha. All right. Yeah, I think definitely my goals are gonna change, but for now, I think growing up, I realized one thing about myself is that I like to entertain people. I like throwing jokes and stuff all the time, and so I like making people smile and laugh and stuff, and so I think this is a form of that where I get to become an entertainer, but at the same time too, like kind of like what Yang says, like I would be lying if I didn't want to be champion, and so that's a goal of mine. Is I want to say, like kind of like growing up, like a lot of people didn't know who the Hmong people were, and so I kind of like wanted to in a way like, hey, we're here too, like we exist, we're the Asian too that you guys think that we're Chinese and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, no, we're Hmong, and I want to like put a stamp in that, and so kind of be a representation within the community and just be like, hey, we could do this too. If you guys have a dream, go live it, go do it. And like I want to do something that I love and have a passion for. And I've always wanted to do this for years, and I finally felt the courage to actually come and do pro wrestling. And so I want to get paid for it. And if I can get paid a lot of money for it, like yeah, that'd be a thing too. Like I would love that. But I want to do something that I love to do and have a passion for. And if I get paid for doing something that I love to do, like even better. So, like, and the same thing when Steve said, going to Japan, I want to wrestle in Japan, whether it's DDT or Japan or, something like that. Like, I think it'd be fun. And lastly is just my creativity. Like ever since with COVID happened, I've been just writing down, characters and gimmicks and stuff that I could do, names, titles, all this other stuff. Like what can I do within the ring? What kind of character can I play? And so it's a part of the reason why I want to do pro wrestling is also my creativity. And so if I can display that, entertain people, and get paid all of that all together, like man, that'd be awesome. So yeah, that's my vision. Those are my goals for that. So yeah.
Do you guys know that Jason almost went to Japan?
Oh, did you?
Really?
Sorry, yeah.
I did get the opportunity, but I had to turn it down because I didn't have a passport at that time. But I did get to tag team with an actual Japanese wrestler at a 0-1 show, I believe. His name was Omari. I don't know if you've heard of him. And we had wrestled a tag team, Phil and Nick, and versus Steve Carino. Steve Carino was booking the show at the but it was like in the parking lot somewhere. He was a cool guy. Omari, he kept bumming me for cigarettes. He was smoking up a storm. We got in there, we tagged. It was pretty cool. That was as close as I got to going to
Get your passports, people.
Yes.
Yeah,
Good thing I got my passport already.
I don't have a passport. My goal was to.
Yeah, I guess that's my goal now. Just get a passport.
Yeah. One of the things I've wanted to try to train at the Cannon Wrestling School. Yes, you guys know what Cannon Wrestling School is? It's Scott Demore School. You guys know Scott Demore, right?
Yes.
No.
Yeah.
I don't.
From Team Canada.
Team Canada, TNA, Team Canada. He's also the vice president of Impact Wrestling right now.
Okay, yeah.
You gotta know Scott Demore, dude. Scott Demore, I mean, he might not be liked by a lot of like guys I know, but like, dude, you gotta know Scott Demore. Scott, I mean, he's cool. Like, I wanted to go to like train at a school for a bit too, because one of the things that True Martini kind of teaches you is like, or tells you is like, hey, if you got the opportunity, don't just train at my school, but train at the other schools that you can go to. Like, so a lot of guys that I know have taken that advice. Like, I think Travis Titan. I don't know if you guys know what Travis Titan is. He's currently training at Seth Rollins School right now because it's one of the things that our trainer teaches: go train at other schools. So, he had that opportunity. Jamie Jacobs is one of those guys who's trained at multiple schools, who's seen multiple schools. The Motor City Machine Gun, same thing. They started at Can-Am, they train at the House of Truth. They've been all over the place. So if you guys got that opportunity, get your passports and have license. Take the opportunity that I didn't get to do, or me and Jason didn't get to do. Yeah, Jason, what were your goals? What were your goals in wrestling?
I just wanted the first thing was just to get into the business. That was my first goal, and then after that, I wanted to see how far I could go. I did entertain the idea that I was going to go to Japan and become Tiger Mask 5 or 20 or whatever. I wanted to become a version of Tiger Mask when I was younger, but that never happened. But yeah, right now I'm starting to get that itch again. That itch. Maybe I could make a comeback. Maybe have a couple matches. I did get a promoter did reach out for a booking during COVID, but I had to turn it down just to do a manager gimmick because I did a lot of managing as Henry Fuji also. But I wouldn't eliminate the possibility of making an appearance once all this pandemic goes away. Just to stay busy.
Yeah. With us just wrestling, like I've said in our group chat there, wrestling is such a small world. It's a lot smaller than what we know of it, because like just talking to you guys. I mean, we've mentioned Steve Carino a few times. I met him once at a show. Talked about Rhino, Greg Valentine. Pretty much we mentioned people that we've all encountered at one point in our lives. And that's wrestling. That's how wrestling is going to be like. I mean, I'd say I've met some of the guys at your school, like the Top Flight, the System. I've talked to Ken once. Wrestling's a small world, and you'll get to meet and have a lot of opportunities that not a lot of us, especially I'm going to focus on a lot of Hmong people that we don't get to have. Like, our passions are different from the average Hmong person, and I say that because I truly think that as Hmong people, we need to start to actually enjoy the things that we like individually. Because I do feel like a lot of us, we're only into the things that we are into because it's quote unquote the popular thing, because everyone else is doing it. And like, well, I don't want to do what everyone else is doing it. Just because they like it doesn't mean I'm like, yeah, I might like it, but that doesn't mean that I want to do it. Like, because I got into volleyball because everyone my age was playing volleyball. Like I like it, but I can't play it, and I don't want to be doing it all the time. I don't. It's funny. Like if you'll notice that a lot of like pro wrestlers aren't into sports. I don't like sports. I can't get into sports. I don't know about you guys, but it's like I can't. I don't know. Like a lot of people, they like it, but like they're like, dude, you should watch it. Everyone else is watching it, or you should listen to this. Everyone else listens to it. Like it's just not me. Like I'm just not into it. And like I want to encourage like everyone out there, if you're listening, if you're watching, if you're not, or or just you guys too, it's it's embrace being different and being what we're doing right now. It's different. Like there's 6 of us in here now, plus Kelly and some other people that we may or may not know who are doing what we do. And that's not a lot, like. But then I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people out there who either are still in the closet or in a shell of kind of embracing their fandom and what they like. But like I was saying, with us being such a small world, Uh, I told you guys, there was a time where I could have traveled with Colt Cabana. This is one of the things that we're taught. We're also taught to be careful for, be aware of, when we're on shows or anywhere we go, because you never know who's watching. You never know who's looking at you. There's a story of, do you guys know who Tiberius Thompson is? He was a Ring of Honor for a bit, and he left. He tagged with ACH. But there's a story that Truth tells us that I'll tell you guys my story after that in a bit. Because he does capoeira, right? He's unique because he does capoeira. He uses capoeira in wrestling, and without telling TD or Tiberius, Scott D'Amore was at a show because my trainer invited Scott D'Amore personally to take a look, to have him look at TD for Impact Wrestling or for TNA. And the thing is, the show, there was probably, like, from what I heard, was like very little people, like 5 or 6 people, but Scott D'Amore was watching. And I guess TD decided to take it easy that day, and pretty much didn't work the way that you would normally work. This is just a story that I've heard. So if anyone else is listening and hear me say that, I'm not trying to get here or anything, but this is just what I've heard. But because of how he performed, Scott D'Amore's like, this is who you really want me to see. Like, you never know who's watching. And so what my story is, I guess from what Truth tells me is, I went to the wrestling school one time, and I remember Truth showing Paul Bowser, the other assistant trainer, a text message he had from someone. And hey, check this out. And he goes, after a while, after a few minutes, Truth sits there because he's an honest dude. He's he'll be straight up. He'll shoot with you. Say, hey, so do you know who Colt Cabana is? Like, yeah. So Colt Cabana, he was bored one day and decided to check out the website, HOTWrestlingSchool.com, and he saw your picture. And he fell in love with you. He messaged me right away and was like, "Who is this guy? Because I want to book him. I want to use him. I want him to travel with me." And oh yeah, it's Andrew. He's one of my students. And I was like, oh dude, like I would love to use him. Like, but you know what my trainer tells him, because my trainer is an honest guy, and I do respect I respect him for this. Like he's not ready yet. And so Colt says, oh, okay, well, whenever he is ready, whenever you feel he's ready, hit me up. And that's one of the things that I want you guys to be aware of, like to understand. Like you never know who's watching or who knows you, because sometimes you might be your own failure. Me, I didn't take that opportunity. I could have got that showed me that gave me the opportunity to, all right, well, someone's interested in me, right? But I failed because I didn't improve. I didn't train as hard as I should have, because I've only went to the school maybe once a week. That became like once every 2 weeks to a rare occasion. I didn't work out. I didn't invest in myself. So it's like that's one of the advice that I want to give you guys who are training. Like, yeah, I know you guys, some of you guys want to go to Japan. Some of you guys want opportunity. Invest in yourself. If you guys take this, if you guys want to make it, take it serious. And also, like I said, your trainer is also someone that you gotta impress too. Because I don't give my trainer any heat for it, because he's honest. He's your trainer. He knows you better than most other people. They know how you're trained. They know if you're ready or not. And if you're not, he's not gonna, because my trainer's not gonna let me go out there if I'm not ready, because I'll make a fool of myself. And also, it's his reputation that's on the line. So for you guys, it's like, I want you guys to, like, if you guys want to make it somewhere, make or have a goal, you gotta invest in yourself, take it serious. And that does mean, this is part where not many people will understand, is you gotta make sacrifices. And that's something that I couldn't make. I couldn't make sacrifices. maybe Jason knows, but like sometimes you'll sacrifice time with friends, family. You'll probably miss like the promo that everyone uses. I miss funerals, I miss weddings, I miss birthdays. I hear that promo all the time, but it's true. It's true. And if I don't want to scare you guys, or I don't want to discourage you guys, but if you guys have a goal in wrestling, take it. If you guys want to, if you guys want to be serious, if you guys want to be serious, you gotta take the opportunities that you guys need to be able to be where you guys are at. Like, so you guys got a good reputable trainer, and that's a great, Ken Anderson, the Academy. It's a great place to start. Like you guys are starting at a school who has a reputable trainer. Your trainer's been somewhere. He knows people. He has made a smart decision of training with someone who has a name, who has name value. That's one of the reasons why I'm happy that I went to the House of Truth. I don't know if you guys know Truth Martini, because he's been away from TV for a while. He's Ring of Honor. He's trained a lot of guys who's made it somewhere. He trained Juice Robinson. You guys know Juice Robinson?
Yep.
Yeah, Juice Robinson, like 9 months, maybe 6 months, 9 months after he trained at the House of Truth, he got signed to WWE. And that's one of those opportunities. Like it's good to train with somebody who has those connections.
Yep.
But yeah, before we like close up, like you guys got anything else you guys want to share? Like any fun stories that you guys want to tell about? The people you've met. Stuff that you guys done.
I haven't done anything crazy yet. I'm just starting, so I haven't done anything crazy yet. But like you're talking about before too. One of the demolition guys that came to our camp a lot, he did talk to me. He said that he talked to me. He was like, he goes, you look ready. I like how you get in the ring, get out of the ring. I like your stuff. And I was like, man, dude. And he was like, have you done show yet? Have you started show? I was like, and I told him the truth. And I was like, I haven't started show yet. I haven't done any show. It's because I'm just coming back from an injury that it happens not too long ago. And he just kind of, was kind of like, oh, okay. So he just kind of walked away, which it was kind of like sad for me because, like one of the demolition guys who walked up to me and talked to me and told me I was good. And that was like, I was happy. It was a good praise. And he gave me some life in me, saying that, somebody's watching me. But like I said, I kind of felt like I lost an opportunity with him due to the fact because, I told him that I'm just coming back from an injury and, I don't feel like doing a show yet. But, you're right, though. Sometimes maybe you just got to just knock on the door and just go with it, You
never know who's watching. One of the fun stories I was right after I got done training. Because you guys will meet a lot of names or people who's been on TV or have you guys ever heard Virgil stories? You guys know who Virgil is? Ted DiBiase's manager. That black guy. Jason, do you know Virgil? You know Virgil. I'm pretty sure you know who Virgil is, Jason. You're on mute, bro. You know Virgil, right?
Virgil?
Yeah, Ted DiBiase's Virgil.
He actually christened me into your group.
He what?
Yeah, that he actually christened me into the group at an indie show.
Hey, did he?
He initiated me to the NWO group.
Yeah, so Virgil's a funny character in wrestling. You guys might hear a lot.
It's just me, but
He what? I think it's just you, bro. You're chopped. Is it me or him? You're cutting it out.
Yeah, I think it's Jason.
Okay, yeah, we're wrapping up soon, but
my battery's about to die. So
okay, yeah, we're about to wrap up soon. So yeah, Virgil, he was at Comic-Con, and I was at a Comic-Con show, and I was like, cool, it's Virgil. I didn't know anything yet, but I'll recommend you guys stay away from him. But I was like, cool, it's Virgil. He had the $1 million belt right there. And I was like, hey, where's Ted DiBiase? Because he likes to go and advertise himself with Ted DiBiase. Ted DiBiase's never with them. It's like, oh, he's a pastor somewhere. He's probably doing some pastor stuff. And it's like, and because I told, we're doing the show because XICW is doing a show at Comic-Con, and I'm here to just help them out. And it's like, oh man, you don't want to listen to any these indie guys. Go straight to the WWE, man. You're like, go up to Vince McMahon, go straight to WWE, get a job at WWE. As if it's that easy, That he tells everyone this. And he's like, yeah, Ted DiBiase, me and him used to go and pretty much used to go and like bring women to our hotel room and they will suck on our titties. I'm like, okay, that's cool. And then Eddie Venom comes by and it's like, hey, you don't want to associate yourself with this guy, because I guess Virgil almost got into a fight with one of my friends because he hates indie wrestling, but yeah, he gets booked on indie wrestling, and it's like one of those guys who, I don't know, you just want to stay away from because he likes to, I don't know, he's just a crazy guy. But it's funny when you meet these legends, like I told you guys my Greg Valentine story, when you meet these old legends, a lot of times you'll hear funny stories about them. So
pretty interesting.
Yeah. Jason, didn't you manage Demolition?
No, I met Axe a number of times, but I did manage Barbarian once. You guys know Barbarian from the Barbarian Warlord? Yeah.
Yeah.
Warlord too. Those were cool guys. They got to hang out with Meng for a little bit, or King or Haku, and he looks like the real deal. He's intimidating.
Good. Yeah, so we're gonna sign off soon. So, I know, Jason, you gotta get going, and you guys. I mean, I'd love to have this opportunity again. Before we go, you guys want to share anything and plug anything, or shoot?
We can say that for next session.
Yeah, that too. And I just want to say, we're still there are a couple of us are still new at this. So I'm hoping that maybe in the future we could come back with more stories and more experience, and talk more.
I told my trainer, one of my trainers, this yesterday. I was like, I was talking with you guys. Like, man, you guys can come back and be a stable. You be the manager. And I'm like, yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, that's cool too. I'd be down for something like that too, and especially with Jason. Jason, if you haven't managed any of us, I think I'd be down for it too.
He was pitching me the idea of you come back, all you ever did was got made fun of in wrestling, and then you're not alone. You bring a whole group, and you would be like the next Nexus, just cheer around.
Or this could be like the Gatos for all Okadas,
Yeah. Yeah, but I would love to do this again, just when you guys have more experience. I'm gonna try to do more podcasts. I might just reach out to you guys individually or whatever. Have this more of a group. But yeah, dude, thanks. Hey, thanks for hopping on. This was an idea that I've been kind of, juggling around for the last few months now. I was like, man, maybe should I hit Joel and Kelly up? And I was like, I'll wait, and then I'll wait, and then finally I was like, all right, cool. I subscribed to StreamYard, which is all right, I got to commit now. So StreamYard, let's do it. That's why I hit up Joe, and I hit up Kelly, and Kelly added you guys, and I hit up Jason. All right, let's do it. But hey, thanks for joining on, guys. If you're listening,
thanks for having us, man.
Yeah, thank you, Andrew. Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Man.
For those of you who are listening, follow these guys. They're the future of they're the future of wrestling, Hmong wrestling. Maybe. We'll see. Thanks, guys.
All right, thank you, man. You have a good, bro.
Thank you, man.